Chapter 3, Problem 1. This is labeled Exercise 3.1 in the book. They give us some information and they ask us to make some journal entries. Nothing too difficult here, you'll all be fine. So, they tell us materials were purchased on account. So that's going to be a debit to raw materials and a credit to accounts payable. Then we bought some information. We withdrew some material. Some was used directly and some was used indirectly. So let's get started. Let's do the first one. We bought raw materials, $80,000. So we're going to debit raw materials, $80,000. Credit accounts payable, $80,000. Then they tell us that $71,000 were used from the raw materials. So the total raw materials went down by $71,000. So it's a credit of $71,000 to raw materials. However, $62,000 was for direct materials. So that goes directly to work in process. And the difference, the $9,000, difference between 62 and 71, goes to overhead, and that will be applied at some point in the future. The next thing it tells us is total wages were paid of $112,000, and $101 was for direct labor. So again, we have some for direct labor, some for indirect labor. But we know the total was $112. So let's start with that. The total cash out is $112,000. The direct labor was $101,000. So that goes to work in process. $101,000. And the difference between that, the $11,000, is overhead, and that will be applied as we go along. And the last thing they tell us is that depreciation of $175,000 was incurred on factory equipment. Well, depreciation on factory equipment is, by its very definition, overhead. So $175,000 to overhead and $175,000 to accumulated depreciation. Remember what we're doing here with our overhead. We're listing the actual bills, the electric bill, the water bill, the utility bill, the depreciation, the indirect material, the indirect labor. They're all going into our overhead account. This is the actual bills. This side is what we apply. So we take from this side and put it to work in process, and it goes there. And when it's finished from work in process, it goes to finished goods inventory, and when we sell it, it goes to cost of goods sold. So that's what we're doing. We're collecting our overhead before we apply it.